or racing at the home of British motorsport? We won't say no. Welcome back to Silverstone on the Sunday for the sprint race in the second round of the 2020 Formula 2 season in a heavily revised calendar. Of course, we are back here today and a pattern is emerging because much like Austria last time out, it's a sunny day for the sprint race. We've been greeted by glorious sunshine and blue skies once again, and boy, what a mixed up grid we have here. We thought the actual grid was topsy-turvy. This one certainly is going to bring surprises galore, we feel. It could be a real day for the rookies because it's Guilherme Samaya, the rookie in the Campos race car, that is on the first grid pole today as the winner. Aiden Jackson down in 8th place. I would bet not against him doing more overtaking in this race. So, it's Samaya and Sato on the front row, and the second row will be Christian Lundgaard and Felipe Jagrovic. Callum Ilott and Robert Shwartzman follow, and on the final row of the top 8 reverse grid will be Jehan de Rivala, and the winner of a phenomenal feature race performance by Aiden Jackson. Everyone from 9th down will start where they finish. That's Nikita Mazepin, Jack Aitken, Yuki Tsunoda, Marcus Armstrong, Giuliano Alesi. After starting from pole with almost leading for 14 laps, suffered a puncture at the right front on the penultimate lap. He dropped out of the points in 13th, followed by Markelov and Mick Schumacher, the big surprise, and along with Pedro Piquet as well. Many drivers staying on the wet tyres after their mandatory pit stop, falling out of the points and falling down the field.
Make sure to warm up the tyres.
And of course, in the sprint race, there's a lot less time to make positions up. So, if we thought Aiden Jackson was rapid today, or yesterday rather, he'll be probably even more rapid today to get a double win this weekend. As we said in Austria, though, no one has come close to a double win in the Formula 2 format. The closest was Artem Markelov a year or so back. And, well, what a mixed up grid. This is going to be a chance for the likes of Robert Shwartzman to get some points on the board after his rather mediocre performance in Austria. It has to be said, he really didn't make any sparks fly as it was. And he was probably one of the highest rated rookies coming into this season. But I have to say, and I think we all have to agree, that Jackson has pretty much stole the limelight all by himself with that one feature race performance yesterday. Phenomenal comeback drive after a half spin on lap 1 off the start line. He was off the track before even the first corner arrived with a half spin with 2 high revs at the start. Fell to the back of the field and was pretty much to the tail of the field in a couple of corners later because the damaged, oh my goodness, and Jackson again really lighting up the rear tyres. He's been kind of struggling with drivability at this circuit to some cases, although that didn't look like the case yesterday, but I'm guessing he's just hitting his tyres up more than most. You'll need it today because there's no mandatory pit stop of course in the sprint race, and generally we run the hard tyres for the whole race of the race, unless your name is Charles Leclerc at Bahrain a few years ago, when he performed that miraculous sprint race performance where he won the race after taking on the soft tyres. That's pretty much what Aiden Jackson did yesterday, but it was in much different conditions in the rain with a drying race, and I think it has to be said that he would have won the race anyway, even without Alesi's puncture, because he was just so much better. He was on the medium tyres. It was an inspired decision in the end to go to the mediums to the end of the race. Obviously, in the sprint race, the points are only awarded down to 8th place. There's a chance for Jackson to get more points as he assumed the championship lead at the end of that feature race, which is a drive for the ages. What can Schumacher do from 15th? Can Giuliano Alesi recover from his disappointing end to yesterday's race, which wasn't even his fault? It was strange that it was a hard tyre, which is really designed to go longer. It was probably more of a tyre failure. Well, it could be a day for the rookies. Guilherme Samaya is on pole. The Bria starts on the front row. It's the sprint race. It's lights out. And away we go. Go. And Guilherme Samaya looks to a good, brilliant start off the line. That would be great for him. And that's Robert Shwartzman battling with Sato. I think they were side by side. Samaya has got away off the line brilliantly in the Campos car, and he leads going into turn 3. And it looks like, as you were, Marcus Armstrong has moved up a place. Mick Schumacher and they're side by side going into that corner, and Schumacher gets back up to 13, so it looks like he lost a place there, or he might have actually gained a couple, because he was a little bit further down than he's used to, having to finish the race on the wet tyres on a dry track. It was a pretty catastrophe move by Prema in that race. It's Jack Aitken up to 9th, battling with Aiden Jackson, or momentarily, because I think Jackson's ahead of Tsunoda, that we should be watching, because he was another one that raced to the end on the wet tyres and suffered because of it. Nikita Mazepin has dropped down to 11th, with Jack Aitken and Tsunoda going past him as we come to the second sector of the first lap. Szafnauer still leads from Felipe Drugovich now, who has made a storming start actually. So Felipe Drugovich is up to second. He was 4th or 5th. It's Robert Shwartzman that's lost out. Down to P4. Marino Sato is down to P3. So the winner of the start, Felipe Drugovich, a fantastic start from the rookie in the MP Motorsport car, and he's right on Szafnauer's tail as we go into the hangar straight for the first time. And it's going to be no DRS until the end of the second racing lap. So if Drugovich can stay there, he will have a perfect chance to take his first win of the season. And his first win in Formula 2 as well. They've dropped Sato a little bit. He's still in DRS range, Sato. Followed by Shwartzman, Lundgaard, Ilott, Deruva, and Aiden Jackson. That is your top 8. Finishing with top 10, Jack Aitken and Yuki Tsunoda. Szafnauer comes to the end of the first lap. He leads by 4 tenths. DRS is not enabled. I've put that in the wrong place. I'll fix that in the editing system, and I will put it in the end of a second racing lap. I had no idea I'd even done that before doing this commentary today, but I will fix that. So, Mick Schumacher up into P13, right on the tail of Marcus Armstrong in the ART car. We've not had a lot of viewings from the ARTs so far this season. They've been pretty quiet, as to speak, and there's Nobuhiro Matsushita, the man in 14th place, and he and Dan Tipton were down towards the back after hitting Jackson as he was kind of out of the control of his car going into the first corner, and they both knocked their front wings and had to pit. But then we had the likes of Sean Galao and Pedro Piquet. Sean Galao had a spin. Pedro Piquet was on the wet tyres. Giulio Alesi had a puncture. So that really moved Nobuhiro Matsushita and Dan Tipton up to the middle of the pack, as it were, towards the end, of course. Morensani up at P18, and Sean Galao was last with 2. Still watching Matsushita as Schumacher continues to hang on to Armstrong and Mazepin ahead. It's been pretty settled down now. The sprint race does. Only 11 laps in this one. And Szafnauer still leads from about half a second to Felipe Drugovich. Sato, a further half second behind him. And then we've got Robert Schwarzman, Christian Lundgaard, Callum Ilott, Jehan Deruva, and Aiden Jackson. That is still your top 8. We've got a slow MP Motorsport car. That is Nobuhiro Matsushita, as his miserable weekend comes to a very premature end in the sprint race on lap 2. The MP Motorsport car has struck trouble. His teammate is in second place. That's Drugovich in the other MP Motorsport car. And now the DRS will be open on the beginning of lap 3. Szafnauer still leads. Looks like he's comfortable out there. And Aiden Jackson is not making the inroads you would think. He still seems stuck in 8th position. And the sprint races will now become very much a DRS train for the rest of the race. No real alternate strategies or inclement weather to kind of mix things up, even though the grid was very mixed up. Normally Campos do have a chance of taking the main pole, of course, with their Formula 2 being equal step, but normally it's the top drivers that start on the top of the grid, or the front of the grid, normally in the qualifying session. And Jackson is all over Jehan Deruva. He's already passed him this weekend. He passed him for second in the feature race as the track began to dry out, and it's pretty much settled into pretty much procession now. It's going to be sadly like that, with these cars being equal spec. DRS will be less effective at this point. It wasn't even activated until lap 10 in the feature race, and then we saw some overtaking from the likes of Jackson. He's still in 8th position. He'll still get a point from there in Jackson. I think no matter what happens at the end of the sprint race, Jackson will lead the championship unless Callum Ilott can make some inroads from 6th position. Because I think he's Jackson's closest challenger after Mick Schumacher dropped a place or 2 in the standings. Lost the lead. Otmar Szafnauer doing a great job in the Campos to lead from the front. He's got Drugovich all over him. DRS not really helping Drugovich past Szafnauer, which is very unusual. So that's really a good effort by Szafnauer so far. Mick Schumacher and Marcus Armstrong battling into the final corner. That's for P12. Schumacher's starting to feel it on these tyres now. It's ahead of Dan Tittum, his arch nemesis from Formula 3 Europe, who they battle for the title. Remember, Dan Tittum led for the majority, but then Schumacher in the second half of the season came alive and it snatched the title really from under Dan Tittum's nose. And then Schumacher went on to Formula 2 the following season in 2019, where he won his first race in Formula 2 in the sprint race, but that was the only win Prema grabbed the whole season. It was a really underwhelming season for Prema. And he's having a much better time of it now. Mick Schumacher winning the feature race, scoring in the sprint race last time out. Robert Shwartzman scoring better in the feature race as Schumacher dropped towards the back with the wrong tyres. As Jackson's having a look at Deruva. Is that down the inside of Copse again? It almost was, but not quite close enough on that occasion. And I'd like to see Dragovic with DRS here. The restaurator is focusing on Jackson, and who can blame him? But I'd really like to see what Dragovic is doing at the front, because he's not passing Szafnauer. He'll be at the DRS range now, I believe. And meanwhile, we're still looking at Jackson because he's going down the outside, which will turn to the inside. There is DRS, but Deruva will also have DRS on Callum Ilott ahead. And no move there from Jackson. Unusual, but he is on the harder tyres than he was yesterday. Guillermo Szafnauer still keeps ahead of Felipe Dragovic. They've got good straight line speed in that Campos car if Dragovic can't pass him at the moment. So Campos have good straight line speed here, and that's keeping Szafnauer ahead. So it is going to be a day for the rookies this weekend for the rookies. Jackson, the rookie, winning the feature race. Szafnauer looks like winning the sprint race here today. Robert Schwarzman, a much better weekend than the one in Austria. But everyone from Sato down is going to struggle with DRS train issues, but it's Szafnauer that's doing wonderfully well at the front, to be fair. Like to see it, but we're so focused on Aiden Jackson here, Mr. Director. We want to see Dragovic, really. We want to see what he does to try and get past Szafnauer, as Jackson is all over Jehan Deruva for the moment there. But of course, Deruva have DRS, which will keep it ahead of Jackson, the rapid rookie in the Hitech GP car. Now he's down the inside. Is he going to have a look before we get to Copse? Is there going to be another great Copse move by Jackson? He's ahead slightly. Is he going to go into Copse? Side by side they do. And J.R. Deruva he didn't hang it out there. And Jackson took 7th. Another great move from Aiden Jackson. It's almost become a formality with him. Atomic passes moves like that. Another great move by Jackson again. He's got Callum Ilott ahead of him. It would be good for his championship if he was to pass Callum Ilott today. Schumacher currently out of the points once again and struggling to pass Marcus Armstrong. He was down the outside of the hangar straight there. Did he pass him? We won't know. Jackson ran a little bit wide, but he should be able to keep that position. He does. Szafnauer is still ahead of Dragovic. I think he has the legs of Dragovic in this race, even with DRS enabled. End of lap 6, we're already past the halfway stage of this sprint race. They go by in a flash. Jehan Deruva down the inside, and no, he didn't pass him, and I think he'll fall into the clutches of Aiken and his teammate Tsunoda and Nikita Mazepin. I'll give Hitech a chance for another double point finish. Well, credit to Guillermo Szafnauer here. Now he's pulling away from Dragovic. I think he's like half a second. He seems really better in the corners of this track, so that didn't really look comfortably taken. Looks like he dropped a little bit more speed than he probably wanted. But Szafnauer is well on course for his first win in his rookie season. Guan Yu Zhou down in 20th place. Not been a good weekend for Guan Yu Zhou. He's been pretty much nowhere this weekend. He was in the midst of the fighting with the likes of Jackson at the front in Austria, but he's had a below par weekend here in the other ART car. No, it's the only Virtuoso car, my apologies. It's Callum Ilott's teammate. Marcus Armstrong, Mick Schumacher battling again. And they're going to be side by side coming out of Maggots and Beckett's here. Schumacher's going to have DRS, but so is Armstrong. I think the only disappointing thing about these equal spec cars is if you get in the DRS train, you're going to stay there. You're not really going to make any inroads, sadly. Oh, look, Jackson's already caught up to the back of Callum Ilott now in P6 or P4. Yeah, it is P6, and Jackson's already caught up to the back of this train here, and he's pulled away from Deruvula. So now Jackson may have a shot at taking P6. He's taken the fastest lap with a 1:44.4. We'll have to wonder if that stays to the end of the race. And Szafnauer has pegged Dragovic now, and there was a lock-up there from someone. I think it might have been Christian Lundgaard. Yeah, it looks like Szafnauer's got Dragovic pegged now, about half a second clear. Of course, it was close a bit with DRS. But the order staying is as you were for the last few laps now. Jackson not able to pass Ilott so far. But very much different conditions to yesterday. And oh, a bit of a tank slapper there from Jackson coming out of that corner. That's going to lose him a bit of time. So Szafnauer still leads from Djokovic. Still Marino Sato doing well in third place as well. Shwartzman fourth. Followed by Lundgaard, Ilott, Jackson and Deruvula. That is your point scorers as we come towards the end of lap 7 in this sprint race. Jackson with DRS on Ilott, but doesn't really count for much. He's dropped Deruvula out of DRS now, so he'll be under no threat from behind. And poor Giuliano Alesi, his weekend has gone from bad to worse. He's now behind Artem Markelov, which I think he started behind on the grid anyway because he had that late puncture, of course. Yeah, definitely Guan Yu Zhou has been definitely the disappointing driver of the weekend, if there was such a thing. He's been down towards the back all weekend. He started 20th, I think, in this feature race. What a phenomenal race this boy had yesterday. Aiden Jackson falling to the back of the grid and of course winning the feature race. He was helped by some drivers on the wrong tyres and a later pit stop than most, and 2 front wing changes at the start, but he still passed the rest of them. It was well earned. No one can take that away from him. Oh, and Ilott spins! Ilott spins! That's a spin for Callum Ilott on the UNI Virtuosi car. That's him out of the points then. Jack Aiken will score double points for Campos. And we've had a real problem with cars spinning this weekend. Even in the feature race in the dry we're having it. Let's have a look here. Just too much revs in the middle of the corner. He didn't even, well, he barely touched the curb. It wouldn't be enough to unsettle the car. Just too much revs in the middle there. And that promotes Jackson up to 6th now. But J.R. Deruvula has caught him. I think Jackson's made a slight mistake somewhere because he's fallen out of the clutches of Lundgaard now. And there's J.R. Deruvula all over him. So Jack Aiken, there we go. There was Deruvula around the outside. Did Jackson go off the track? He might have done, and he's fallen out of the points. And that's the first real mistake we've seen from Aiden Jackson so far this season by the looks of it. Schumacher's made his way up to 12th. He locks up Aiden Jackson, uses the slide to help turn the car and try to pass Jack Aiken. He's going to go around the outside of the Williams Academy driver. And he's going to take it, and he's back into P8. Let's have a replay here. And that's what happened again. Much like in the feature race, he just lost the back end. And just really went out to avoid a possible collision. Tsunoda took advantage of that and got past Aiken. So now he's right on the tail of his teammate Deruvula. Double points for Carlin then in 6th and 7th. And Mazepin has passed Jack Aiken, and Schumacher is going to try and pass Armstrong again. He's had a real problem trying to pass Armstrong this weekend, or in this race anyway. With 3 laps in the end, Guillermo Szafnauer has definitely pegged Dragovic at the front. That's a good move by Schumacher. Can he take P10 from Jack Aiken as well, perhaps? Well, if the points went down to 10th, it would be a well-earned point for Mick Schumacher, but sadly, he's still got to pass Mazepin and Jackson in the Hitechs ahead. But he's got ahead of Aiken. been a good race from Schumacher. I think if he made these moves earlier, he probably would have been a shot at a point or two. But unfortunately, he spent too long behind the ART of Armstrong. So the penultimate lap then, Otmar Szafnauer has pegged the Dragovic all race long. He's done brilliantly, considering Dragovic will have DRS almost every lap behind him. This hasn't been Jackson's strongest performance. He's going to finish where he started. And still Marino Sato as well in P3. That's another honourable mention. It's definitely going to be a mixed up podium. That's what we love about these reverse grid position races. It does throw up surprise winners. And Otmar Szafnauer will definitely be on that category, being the rookie, of course, in the Campos car. He's really had the legs of Dragovic in this race. Szafnauer's done brilliantly, to be fair. One who shows moved up to P19 past Delatraz. No, it would be Callum Ilott he passed actually, because he spun and formed to the back of the field. So that'll help Aiden Jackson out ultimately in the championship. He might be only scoring 1 point, which will turn to 3 points for the fastest lap, because I don't think anyone's going to beat that 144 from him now. So that'll help him in the championship. Dan Tectum is battling with Jack Aiken. It looks like he's passed him. And there's Markelov there as well. Is it Markelov? It is. And the Lazy's right there as well. Tectum has passed Jack Aiken for P12. Maybe Aiken's tyres are starting to fall off. We are on the final lap. Otmar Szafnauer for Campos. Looks to be taking the win here today. The sprint races go by in a flash. He's done so well, Szafnauer, to be fair. He's just pulled out a gap that's just ahead of Dragovic that doesn't give him DRS advantage. Sato's still third. And then after Christian Lundgaard, there's a 2-second gap between him and Jarubala, so the top 5 are pretty settled. Well, it's a weekend for rookies here at Silverstone. Aiden Jackson taking the most memorable win in the feature race from the back of the field in the first lap. Another rookie will take the second win today. Otmar Szafnauer has done brilliantly to withstand the pressure from the DRS train behind him. Markelov has passed Jack Aiken. I think his car and his tyres have reached the cliff already. Now Lazy is past him as well. Jack Aiken has encountered a problem. I think his tyres might be gone. But in any case, his teammate, Otmar Szafnauer, comes to the final corners of the final lap to take a well-deserved win for Campos. It's a weekend for rookies. Otmar Szafnauer wins the sprint race ahead of Felipe Dragovic and Marino Sato will join them on the podium. It's a great drive from one of the rookies this season. Tsunoda actually fights his way back into the points. He was outside the top 10 at the start of the race. A great recovery from him as well. Jackson holds on for the final point, which will turn to 3 as he has the fastest lap. What a great drive by Szafnauer. Give him credit. He did wonderfully. A wonderful win for Campos. Well deserved. He got reverse grid pole and he never looked back. A great race withstanding the pressure from DRS cars behind him. And he takes 15 points today. And Jackson did get the fastest lap, so that will give him 3 instead of just 1. But unfortunately, not really much happened in the sprint races. This normally happens with so few laps and a real DRS train at the start before it kind of settles down and pulls away. The man, as we said at the moment today, Yuki Tsunoda, up to P7 from P11 on the grid. Schumacher up to P10 from P15. So what could he have done if he had not spent the first half of the race behind Marcus Armstrong in the ART car? ART still somewhat struggling so far this season. Julian Alesi lost more places, well, 1 more place to his teammate Artem Markov. They were behind. He was behind Alesi on the grid. So Alesi just probably wants to get out of here. Guan Yu Zhou making no inroads at all. He only benefited out of 20th because Callum Ilott had spun the car and he finished last with no time to really get. I think he caught up to Delatraz actually. He might have done. So with that, Jackson now leads from Felipe Dragovic. Callum Ilott still gets ahead of Schumacher, surprisingly. Not sure why that is. He didn't score any points. Schumacher now down to 4th behind his teammate. Leonardo Gomez moves up to 7th with this win. And still Marcus Armstrong, Mashishita, PK Delatraz and Massani all still yet to score for this season. Leaves Shru's racing team with no points. Kramer, thanks to Schwartzman's performance, go back into the lead of the team standings, while UNI Virtuosi get back ahead of Hitech. No, I think Hitech was still there. But in any case, it's a good win for Hermes Samar, and that will help him and Campos in the team standings. It won't mean much for the championship, but you never know, I guess. They all count. Hermes Samar is your winner today, and we will head off to Hungary and Formula 2 returns. Hopefully we'll have some different conditions for you that weekend. We'll see you next time.